It was revealed at the Colombo Additional Magistrates Court today that 5 of the suspects arrested in connection with the killing of 4 people, including Bharatha Lakshman Premadasa, have been released on bail. This was when the case was taken up before the acting magistrate, Kanishka Vijayaratna, today.
The acting magistrate noted that the suspects had been released by the Colombo High Court on cash bail set at 25,000 rupees each and sureties of 500,000 rupees each. The magistrate added that they had also been released on the condition that they would not travel abroad. ASP Shani Abesekar of the Criminal Investigations Department said in court today that they had visited the Attorney General's Department on the 19th and 20th of December to obtain further instructions on how to proceed with the case. Abesekar said that they had met with senior lawyer Madhava Tennakoon at the Attorney General's Department, adding that he had noted that the wife and daughter of the slain Bharatha Lakshman Premadasa had made certain statements to the Attorney General's Department and that further instructions would be issued after taking these statements into consideration. The magistrate ordered all suspects to reappear in court on the 11th of this month.
Delivering the 123rd Dr. T.B. Jaya Memorial Lecture in Colombo today, the Minister of Justice and the leader of the Sri Lanka Muslim Congress, Rauf Hakim, said it is futile for Sri Lanka to claim to have achieved national reconciliation.
In another 4 months comes May 2013, and we would complete 4 years of peace, or rather the absence of war. But it would be futile to claim we have achieved national reconciliation. That continues to elude us. I am the Minister of Justice and a member of the Cabinet. If an attempt is made to relate the recent Muslim intake to the Sri Lanka Law College to the fact that the Minister of Justice is a Muslim, it is my task to ensure that it does not become a pretext for anti-Muslim rhetoric to be unleashed.
Now here's a situation where having the highest points is not at all desirable. In fact, drivers around Sri Lanka are gearing up to take extra care as the point system takes effect today. Newsfest reports.
The Department of Motor Traffic has initiated this point scheme for drivers who offend traffic rules and regulations. Commissioner General of the Department of Motor Traffic H.S. Harishchandra says drunk drivers and drivers responsible for major accidents involving fatalities will be given these points as the initiative stage of the point scheme. According to the Commissioner, this means that these 2 major traffic offences will carry 12 points apiece, and once a driver reaches 24 points, that is 2 offences, the driver's licence will be cancelled for a period of 1 year.
The court provides its own form of punishment in a major road accident. We are carrying out this point scheme in conjunction with this process. The police imposes fines for traffic violations. We will be implementing the point scheme on an individual simultaneously when we receive information relating to a traffic violation. The reason for this is because there was no effort being made by violators to correct their faults. We intend to instill discipline among Sri Lanka's drivers. Coming up later on in the news tonight.
Well, we will have the celebrations and the spectacular fireworks that were displayed around the world as the people of the world marked the dawn of 2013. That's coming up later on in the news. But in more local news, Minister of Disaster Management Mahinda Amaravira visited several flood-stricken villages in Bingiriya today.
The minister arrived at the Bingiriya Divisional Secretariat to donate equipment and money to those affected. 2012 began with the drought. We prayed for rain at every village sent in the country, but the rains we received were more than what we asked for. Although the rains caused severe hardships for the people, we cannot view the rain as something bad for the country. Thereafter, the minister engaged in an inspection tour. Meanwhile, the floodwaters in many parts of the Mana district have receded and residents were seen returning to their homes. However, residents returning to Chettikulam came home with heavy hearts as they had lost most of their belongings. Residents of Chettikulam who had to leave their homes, which were inundated when the Malwatu air burst its banks, took shelter at the temporary camp set up near the access route to their village. They spent a week at this camp before returning home. The cultivations belonging to the area residents were also destroyed by the floods. Our cultivations have been destroyed. There is nothing left in our houses.
Now, the red rain phenomenon is picking up public interest, with several scientific opinions being offered to explain the strange occurrence. Astrobiologist Professor Richard B. Hoover says that if comet debris can be found in the red rains experienced recently in Sri Lanka, then there is a possibility that the microorganisms which may have caused the colouring could be extraterrestrial in nature. However, in an exclusive interview with News First, Professor Hoover noted that when researching this phenomena, scientists must maintain an open mind.
Professor Richard B. Hoover, who is a visiting lecturer at the Buckingham Centre for Astrobiology in the United Kingdom, is also an expert who has worked on several research projects for the American Space Agency, NASA. Professor Hoover also helped establish an astrobiology team affiliated to NASA to research and study microorganism fossils in 1996.
Algae called Chlamydomonas nivalis, and that green algae forms spores that are bright red in color. And I would go to my snowbank every day and collect these samples of the red snow algae. But when you bring them out of the spore state and they come back into their normal state, they are bright green in color. But it may be that if there were fireballs and carbonaceous chondrites associated with this recent falls of red rain, that these could be the remains of cometary debris, and so they may be bringing in actual viable microorganisms.
Meanwhile, in a recent interview with News First, Professor Godfrey Louise of the Cochin Science and Technology University said the microorganism found in red rain was not a type of algae.
Some say that this is an algae species. According to our researchers, we see this a special microbial species. It has been a special biochemical composition. We need the assistance of other scientists.
Professor Hoover says it is very important that meteorites, which fell to Earth recently in Sri Lanka, are all closely examined.
I can think of no reason whatsoever why microorganisms such as cyanobacteria, diatoms, euglena, and other kinds of and bacteria could not, in fact, live on and in water pockets within comets. Precious meteorites that had recently fallen in Sri Lanka. That is the most tremendously exciting aspect of this. If there were, in fact, meteorites that fell, it would be very, very important to quickly study these meteorites. But I will say this, it is the role of scientists to thoroughly investigate phenomena associated with the natural world. We should do those investigations with an entirely open mind. However, if you had what is called a del 13C of minus 20 or minus 30 or minus 40, that would be absolute, clear, and convincing proof that these were biological remains that were extraterrestrial in nature and origin.
You're watching News First. Up next is Action TV.
The Padiyatalawa Agrarian Development Centre is tasked with implementing the government's fertilizer subsidy program for farmers in the Padiyatalawa Agrarian Services area. The contract to transport the fertilizer from the Lanka Fertilizer Corporation storage facility in Mahiyangania to Padiyatalawa is granted through a tender process. The handwriting on the applications of 3 of the applicants for the last tender, which was called at the end of the Yala harvest season, is very similar. Of these 3 applicants, the contract to transport the fertilizer from Mahiyangania to the Padiyatalawa Agrarian Development Centre storage facility was granted to the applicant who offered a charge of 30 rupees and 50 cents per 50 kilograms sack of fertilizer. However, with the contractor refusing to unload the stocks of fertilizer transported from Mahiyangania at the Padiyatalawa Agrarian Development Centre, farmer societies are now facing a problem. This is because the farmer societies have to bear the additional cost charged by the contractor to transport the fertilizer to the individual villages. Farmers say that the additional charge is between 20 to 50 rupees per sack of fertilizer. In addition, a condition has been imposed that when the fertilizer is brought to the villages, it can only be unloaded by labourers working for the contractor, which in turn places an additional cost of 10 rupees per sack of fertilizer on farmer societies. The additional expense borne by the farmer societies is distributed among the members. It is in this backdrop that the farmers who receive the subsidized fertilizer at 350 rupees per sack have to bear an additional cost of between 20 and 60 rupees per sack. According to its letterhead, the Transport Contracting Organization, which in addition to obtaining money from the government which has been allocated for farmer needs, also places extra costs to embezzle from the farmers, is supposedly registered with the Minipay Divisional Secretariat. However, a Transport Contracting Organization by this name has not been registered with the Minipay Divisional Secretariat. Nevertheless, this letterhead also contains a registration number. There is also a problem pertaining to the telephone numbers listed on this letterhead. This is because the telephone number listed by the officer in charge of the Padya Talava police on documents which he has signed stating his name and position is reproduced digit to digit on the letterhead of the questionable Transport Contracting Organization. The name of the emblazoned on the lorries used by the Transport Contracting Agency is also similar to the Padya Talava OIC's name. If an investigation is launched to find out for whose needs the stocks of fertilizer are being transported to the individual villages instead to the Padya Talava Agrarian Development Center, wouldn't such an investigation also reveal and resolve the problems in the tender process? District Secretary of Ampara, this one is over to you.
And it's time now for the newspaper cartoon of the day.